Welcome to the Emerge Show, where we explore the intersection of business and creativity. I'm Tiffany, and I'm joined by my brilliant co host, Deshana and Dorothea. And today we have the incredible honor of speaking with Malcolm-Jamal Warner, a multi talented actor, director, musician, and performance poet. Known for his iconic roles such as Theo Huxtable on the groundbreaking sitcom The Cosby Show, Malcolm McGee on the UPN sitcom Malcolm and Eddie, and Sticky, the VP of Motorcycle Club, The Grim Bastards, on the FX show Sons of Anarchy. Malcolm has not only made his mark in television, but has also ventured into directing, music, and advocacy work. His career spans decades, showcasing his versatility and creativity across various platforms. Beyond acting, he is an accomplished musician with award-winning albums, including his debut EP, the Miles Long mixtape, and its follow-up, Love and Other Social Issues.
As a performance poet, Malcolm has captivated audiences with his powerful words and his emotional depth. Performing at prestigious events like the National Black Theater Festival, his journey is a true testament to resilience, motivation, and the power of storytelling.
And today we'll get the privilege to dive deep into his experiences in the entertainment industry, explore his entrepreneurial mindset, and discuss how his artistic pursuits inform his approach to business. So sit back, relax, and get ready for an inspiring conversation with the one and the only Malcolm-Jamal Warner.
Well, so I want to talk to you and hear about like your career evolution because you've had such like a versatile career from acting to directing and music. How have your experiences in the entertainment industry influenced your approach to business per se?
Well, I think the probably the most powerful thing I'd say, and I've told this story ad nauseum and will continue to tell it till my dying day. But when Cosby hit, I was 14, and out the box, the show was like this phenomenon. And my mother sat me down and said, baby, it's great that this show is doing. It is the phenomenon that it is, but you know how this business is. This show could be over next year. What are you going to do when the show is over? She said, I can type. I can always get a job. But what are you going to do when the show's over? So that really, set me off in terms of thinking about, life after Cosby. Like I literally grew up with this maniacal obsession with life after Cosby.
Mm.
We had talked about, my mom and I talked about longevity. And she said, if you look at anyone in this business who's had longevity, there have been, cycles. There have been times when they've been hot and there have been times when they've not been hot. And she said, you have to decide what you're going to do during those times when you're not so hot, so you're not out here making desperate acting choices.
Mm.
So that really put me on the path of looking at longevity. Like Mr. Cosby used to say, this is a marathon. So while all your other friends are out here sprinting, just remember that this is a marathon. So I've always been, with regard to the business, always found things to diversify. Like when I left, I started directing early. So when I left Cosby, I left with a half a dozen episodes under my belt. I had been directing music videos. I was directing Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So once Cosby was over, the directing was the thing that kept me working in between acting gigs. So there's always been this sense of, constantly working, keeping the machine moving. One of the things that I learned from Mr. Cosby, was work ethic. Like we got to a point where it usually takes like 5 days to record a sitcom, right? At least back then. And we got it down to like 4 days. And we would finish taping on Thursday, and on Thursday night he would get on his plane and he would go to either Tahoe, Vegas, Atlantic City, and do his stand-up Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and be the first one back to work on Monday.
Wow.
And this is while having the #1 show, like not just in the country, but the #1 show in the world. So you can only imagine what he was getting doing his stand-up while having the show. So for me, and again, I repeat, he was the first person back to work on Monday. So for me, growing up, I saw that kind of work ethic, and I realized, oh, okay, when things are popping, that's when you're busting ass. So when things are not popping, you've stacked your chips, and you can, not chill, but you can, you can be mindful about the choices you make. So that's always been the way I've seen my business.
I think that's a good transition. I'm sorry, Tiffany. I'm so giddy.
Me too.
I've grown up watching you, and then I feel like in the past maybe 3 weeks, I've learned so much more about you. And I'm just like, I'm so eager to get my question out, right? So transitioning to an entrepreneurial mindset. As someone who has transitioned between various roles in show business, what qualities do you think are essential for success in entrepreneurship? And I ask that because when we think about rejection, setback, body image, and so many more things, they become so prevalent to things that maybe happened a long time ago that was okay, that are kind of not okay right now. So I just wanted your take on that.
Sure. Well, so for my industry, it's there's so much that goes into booking an acting gig or not booking an acting gig, right? And this is the kind of business where your A game isn't really necessarily the primary reason you get a gig, right? I mean, you can, bring your A game, but you can be too tall, too short, too light, too dark. They may decide they want to cast a woman instead of a man, or they want to cast a Latino instead of or you can get this job. You cannot get this job because you remind the casting director of their brother-in-law. Or you can book the job because you remind the casting director of their brother-in-law. So there's so much that that goes into not booking a role, but at the same time, you still have to bring your A game, knowing that, right? Knowing that your A game, may not necessarily be the deciding factor. You still have to bring your A game every single time, which means the rejection. It's a high rate of rejection in our business. Like, as much as I've been fortunate and blessed and lucky to work, since I was 9 years old, I probably have a 90% rejection rate. And I work.
Yeah.
Right? So this is a business where you have to have a tough skin because you get served rejection on a daily basis. So the thing that I always have to work on is, the no's are such a part of the journey that, I know the yeses are there, right? Like, you can get 999 no's, and that one yes is going to pop, and that changes the trajectory of everything. And I think that's, an approach to life. I think that's not just in my business, but just in life. All you need is that one yes, and the no's are going to be very much a part of the journey. And I have a saying that I love, thank God for unanswered prayers.
Ooh, I love it.
Because sometimes those things that you really want might not really been, you might be better off not having gotten that.
Right.
Facts.
Yeah. So I feel like there's similarities between politics and acting per se, right? The number of rejections, the people vote for you because they like the way you look, they like your name, they like shook their hand one time and they're like, oh my gosh, she's so nice. Like, so it's very interesting. We don't get paid as much. But yeah,
Yeah. Sometimes
Yes,
we don't either.
right. Hey, sometimes it takes that sewing first before you get paid. But as
but
Deshana said, we've been super excited. I know I have, just knowing that I'd have the privilege to sit in this space and we get to interview you. I think the nation probably one way or other grew up watching the Cosby Show. I always like to it's so funny, I never thought I'd be able to say this to you, but I joke. Everyone that knows me knows I can be pretty dramatic. So this is how prevalent the Cosby Show was in our house. They used to call me the real Rudy. They'd be like, because her character was so dramatic and hilarious and charismatic, and they would call me the real Rudy in the house because they're like, that's you being dramatic. That is you. Like whoever wrote this literally wrote your life. And so they called me the real Rudy for years. So I love that. Something else that I'm so impressed with, Malcolm. My question is gonna, ask about this, but I feel like your success is because you are such a student. You talked and shared with us about the things you learned and the things you picked up on to help you be successful. And just you're very wise. And so I must say, deep draws on the deep. And so I think you took everything constructive over the years and it helped you to be as successful as you are. And I appreciate just hearing you say things like the work ethic, those types of things, and then, and being honest about rejection and having tough skin. And so I know that our audience will appreciate that. So with all of that being said, creative direction. You've directed, you told us so many things, but music videos, television shows. Can you share with us how you got your creative vision? How is directing others and your creative vision? How did it shape your decisions personally and professionally over the years?
Interesting. Um, so one of the great things about directing is you get to see everything from a different perspective, right? So oftentimes as an actor, and as an actor who has attained even a modicum of success, it's really easy to uh, think that it's all about you, right? Because you've got everybody catering to your every need, um, and you can't help but look through life with that filter. When you're directing, you're on the other side, and you're in charge of so much that it
Mm,
gives you you're looking at the same thing but from a different perspective, from a wider perspective. So there may be a scenario where as an actor you're sitting there like, why is this taking so damn long, whereas now you're on the directing side and you understand production, and this is taking so long because of this. So when I look at both of those jobs, both those careers, again, looking at the same thing from a different perspective, it makes me more mindful when I'm walking through life. Like, I'm looking at something from my perspective, and it's just my perspective. Someone else can be looking at the very same thing, and we may have a difference of opinion because we're looking at the same thing from two different perspectives. And that's something that again, I walk through life because I walk through life with that. Um, I try to lead with that. Sometimes I don't lead with that all the time, but at some point I get back to that. Um,
yeah.
but when you realize that it's like we're all on this journey. We're all trying to make it. We're all trying to keep our head above water. We're all trying to, get through just, you know, daily life with the least amount of stress and struggle. Like we're all, essentially, uh, on though our paths are different, I think at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I guess I say all that to say that being a director and an actor has helped me in life because I can look at things with I think a lot more mindfulness, that my perspective is not the only way, and it's not necessarily any more valid or any less valid than anyone else's. I know that had nothing to do with creativity.
But it did. It did. You talked about how acting, was one lens, and then when you became a director, you get to see and like really understand the timeline and different things like that. And I think that's important because you're very wise, I must say. Shout out to your mom and just the different people that you chose to, learn under, because a lot of us have these mentors and we don't listen. But I think it helps people who are probably on the same path go, oh, okay, if Malcolm-Jamal Warner could say he was an actor all these years and he thought it was one way, and then to get on the other side to understand all of these others factor into how that production comes. You totally answered the question. So thank you in a way that I wasn't looking for. It's like that deep draws in deep thing. I was just talking about you're very deep and wise.
I appreciate that.
Yes, I was going to say shout out to your mom for giving you that good foundation. Moms are it.
And my dad too. I can't overlook my
No,
dad.
you can't leave them out. But
Yeah.
So one thing I do love about what we talk about here with Emerge is everything's like, we don't just talk about like all the good stuff, right? We want to talk about the hard times. We want to be real because people are learning from our experiences and we want them to emerge in life wherever that leads them. So with that being said, what are like some of the biggest challenges that you faced in your career and how did you overcome them?
I think ultimately, I was the biggest challenge. Definitely one of the biggest challenges, even personally, was finding my authentic voice. And not that I never had an authentic voice. I think the older I've gotten, the more I've been able to really get inside that authentic voice. Because as a kid in this business, you're a kid, you're in this adult business, and you're living in the public eye. So much of it is, you got to be a nice kid, and you want to be professional, and you go out and people are like, hey, you go, hey, how you doing? And there's all of that. There's what I call the uniform, because the job of an actor is very different from the job of living in the public eye. As an actor, they yell cut, you leave the studio, you go home, your job's over. When you live in the public eye, it's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week job. And that's something that you really have to wrap your head around early on, because when people go out and they get bothered because people are bothering them, it's like, well, that's what you signed up for. So,
I'm not in that.
I love it.
That's what it is. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I look at living in the public eye as it's a job.
Yeah.
And I'm good with people, so that I'm good at that part of the job. But no matter how much you may love your job, no matter how good you may be at it, there's some mornings you wake up and you don't feel like going to work.
Right.
But you got to get up and go because you're a professional. So you get up and you go to work. So for me, oftentimes, going to work, oftentimes it's that uniform. I could be having a jacked up day, and again, if my day is if I'm in such a place where I am really not trying to be around people, then I know it's best for me to stay inside. Right, because I'm very mindful of the energy that I give off. I'm very mindful of meeting me is. I always like meeting me to be an experience, and I don't want that to sound funny, but when you get to a point where just saying hi to someone like brightens someone's day, right? Just smiling at someone and you see how that affects someone, well, that's an experience. And I don't want my disposition to impede that experience. So for me, if
Mm.
I'm really not checking for anybody and I don't want to smile at nobody, then I stay home.
Right.
Right? Okay, I called in sick, whatever. But I know if I'm going out, that's a job. And so, and oftentimes that job is it's that uniform. It's the hey, how you doing? Really good to meet you. So for me, as I've gotten older, I realized that uh, I don't have to expend that kind of energy. Because younger, I think there was more of a pleasing energy, right?
Mm.
You want to please, you're in this world, you're a kid, you want to please the adults, you want to please the producers, you want to make sure the studio and network are happy with you, and you want to please so nobody's going back to my mom saying, I was acting up. So there's all of that. And when you spend so much of your formative years in that place of pleasing, it takes some time to get out of that. When you're as an actor, you go to an audition, right? You still want to please because you want the casting people to like you want the directors to like you and the producers because you really want this job. So there's all of that. And I think for me, as I gotten older, I think maybe the biggest challenge for me was figuring out how to dial that down where I can
Mm.
still be me, but it doesn't have to be coming from a pleasing place.
Right.
And uh, I think that kind of approach, again, going through life, right, just taking it outside of business, uh, when it comes to energy, people can detect nervous energy, insecure energy, uh, that pleasing energy, that energy of desperation. And those are all things that are not necessarily received well by the person who's to whom it's coming. So what I found is it's always the people who are really comfortable in their skin that seem to like they get to do the thing because they seem unbothered by uh, other people's judgment. And that's been a hard thing for me because as an actor, as an entertainer, as an artist, you want to be in a place where you don't care about what people think about you. But the success of your art greatly depends upon how people think about you.
Right.
So it's a real fine dance. But I think ultimately when whether you're in the entertainment industry or not in business, the sooner you can find that sweet spot of uh, you know being gracious, being professional, but still being able to stand your ground, have your boundaries, be comfortable in your own skin. I think that's when everything else just gets a little bit easier, a little bit smoother. If that makes
And
sense.
it does make sense. And I really appreciate the word uniform that you use.
Mm-hmm.
I think so often in the people, that we might talk to, people will be like, well, I just got to be me. I don't want to put on a mask, and I think that's a good, clear distinction between wearing a mask, which I look
Yeah.
as being fake, versus wearing a uniform where you have to do certain things, where you're not changing who you are foundationally,
Right.
but you have to do certain things in certain arenas or around certain people to get the job done,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. I'm going to start using the word uniform especially when talking with like young people. So
Seriously, I'm thinking, and he's wearing that uniform well, like very well. Like that's a great way to express it. I've never heard anybody say that as Tiffany says. I like that.
Yeah, yeah, and I definitely think it's important for young people, especially today, because so many of the lines have been blurred, and we grow up and we watch Russell Simmons, you know in business meetings with his baseball cap and his sneakers, and it's really changed the you don't have to go to business meetings in suits anymore. You know, um,
mm, I somewhat disagree. Russell Simmons is in a position now where he can wear a baseball cap.
And that's what I'm saying. So people
Right.
grow up, they see that, and they go,
Oh,
"Oh." So
right.
so it eases the it eases or blurs the lines of, you know, what's acceptable. So with that, you know, young people do come to the table like, you know, I'm trying to be real, I'm trying to be me, and you know, but there again, there's that fine line. Like you can still have integrity, but you know, there are still rules and regulations. There's still decorum. There's still business etiquette, and I think that has gotten lost because there's no you know, there's no such thing as apprenticeship anymore.
Right.
So you got young people coming to the table watching YouTube and watching successful entertainers, right, or successful people in the entertainment business, and because that's what they're conditioned to seeing, you know, young people want to adopt that because they think those things apply to them. So yeah, to your point, they're looking at people who have had a great degree of success, and more often than not, they're in the entertainment industry where things are different. So finding that that fine line for young people, I think, is crucial because they don't necessarily, again, there are no apprenticeships, so there's no one really dropping gems. I think that one of the cool things about Emerge is like you guys are giving people those gems that they're not necessarily going to get when they're just out here, you know, trying to do things dolo.
Right.
Wow. Thank you for that.
Deshane is always dropping jewels. That's what we always
I was
say.
sitting there like, that's what we call Deshane is the gem dropper. She's getting ready to drop a gem question right now. Like,
look, I feel like I've been sitting here taking it all in because when he was talking about, you know, of course, I'm not a celebrity, I'm not an actor, but you know, your public life, I'm like, oh, that was for me because, you know, we have our corporate job, we have Emerge, we do things in the community, and sometimes I always say I'm always on. There's no such thing as like I'm just gonna run to the store real quick and not be all the way put together, right? And so when he said the uniform, like, yeah, that uniform is always on because you can recognize me from Emerge, you can recognize me for work. Oh, you work with the youth at church, so it's just like this is the life you wanted, and you know, be grateful for it. But I definitely understand with the uniform. He was talking to me. That was for me because some days I don't feel like it. I don't want to give a smile when I'm trying to go to the grocery store and get something real quick for dinner, right? But I have to do that. That's just how I feel. I'm like, I have to do that because you never know who needs that smile. You never know how are you or have a great evening will change the trajectory of someone's day, you know, what they're going through. So I definitely recognize that.
Yeah. And one thing that I've noticed, like a lot of times, and I'm sure this probably happens in the business world too, you know, if someone's approaching you about something or you're pitching something to someone, what I found a lot of times is it may not necessarily be the thing that interests the person. It's the person who's presenting the thing, right? Like, okay, I'm not sure about this, but I like this person. This is someone I can work with. Oh, cool. This is something that, you know, we can take this and develop it into where it needs to be. But because I dig that person, I'm having an experience with this person. So that, I think, again, the way you carry yourself and the experiences that you create when you're interacting with people really go a long way. Even if you're in the grocery store, right, having to pick up something for dinner.
For sure.
The one time I went to the grocery store and Maya was younger and I left her in the car because she was like, I don't want to go in. I was like, oh, I just need to grab something. And I'm inside and the lady said, aren't you Tiffany Boyle? Was that your daughter in the car? I said, oh, Maya, you're gonna have to come with me all the time now. Like you can't.
Right. That's funny. And then, like you said, people do recognize you. People recognize us now by our voices. And I think that's something that is different. You know, we're getting used to it, but different for us. You know, walking there like, hey, aren't you? I'm like, yeah. So as Deshane said, how do you separate it? You do have to be ready and professional and put on that proper uniform at all times.
Yeah. And if you don't feel it, then you just don't go out, right?
That's when you order the
I like
stuff
that
in.
one.
I order my groceries in sometimes. Sometimes Target has to come to my house because I don't want to be out.
Hey, curbside pickup.
I'm shopping at Target right now, so let's use another. Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. Oh, well, let me go look because we get off topic. But I think you touched on this earlier when you were talking about when you were younger and watching Mr. Cosby, rapping on a Thursday, going to do his shows on the weekend, and then showing back up the first person to get started with taping again. So my question is, have there been mentors or key figures in your life who have influenced your career path? And also, what advice would you give to individuals who aspire to be somewhere greater, like maybe owning a business or being in the entertainment industry, about seeking a mentorship?
That's great. Um, I think whatever you're doing, mentorship is important. Um, I have, it's very rare that I go on an audition without going to one of my two acting coaches. As a, as a regularly gigging bass player, I still have bass coaches that I go to every couple of weeks. Um, I have a transformational coaching business that I do as well, and I got a mentor in that. So I think the mentors are incredibly important because no matter how smart you are, no matter how gifted you are, four eyes are always going to be better than two. If it's the right extra set of eyes,
That's good.
right? um, and I think we get into this place where we see people, I'm a self-made millionaire, right? Or a music producer who's produced their whole album on their own, and it's like none of that is really true. Right?
Right.
Like whatever you don't do anything completely by yourself. Um, so I think it's always important to have other people. Um, I have people in my life who I call my board. Right. And this is outside of business. I've got a business team, but in life I also have a board. I got a board of directors who I just like go to. Um, different people in my life who have different walks of life, different philosophies in life, different even different religious paths, but people who I know I can confer with. I know they're going to give me not necessarily an answer that I want, but they're going to give me an answer that is very seriously worth considering. And I think that's important because we need balance. We need check posts, because if you're out here trying to do things all on your own and you don't have anyone pulling your shirt tail, dropping gems, letting that might have been a little bit out of line, with love. Like if you don't have that, then you're just out here spiraling,
Yeah.
you know, rudderless, just
Yeah.
out here, just unprotected, even.
Yeah.
So I think it's vital in whatever field you're in to have some kind of mentorship.
I love that. Me and Tiffany were speaking to that the other day about having people around you that know how to be honest, like being truthful, not people that go along, get along and agreeing, and, having those conversations and relationships where those people hold you accountable and tell you things out of love or tell you what you need to see and, valuing their opinions. But I took from that iron sharpens iron and,
Yeah.
wisdom, and above all that, get understanding. And so I'm going to turn up our business aspect with my question just a little bit because we like to pride ourselves on being the premier information source for businesses around here. So, with that being said, Malcolm, balancing act and commerce, how to balance the artistic side of your career with the business aspects. What strategies do you recommend others in creative fields?
Mm. Um, that sounds like a question I should be asking you guys about. So because so I feel, and this is probably more in the music side, um, but because now look out, and I see that everything is about brand and brand marketing and commerce and having product, and uh, I think for me, I got to my brand is what it is, not because I set out to create a brand. My brand just happens to be because of who I am and how I carry myself and walk through life. Um, so because of that, I don't necessarily, I'm still trying to find comfort in, or still trying to embrace the idea of seeing myself as a brand.
Mm,
So I think so in that part I might be I might be lacking a bit. Like even like with my music, I did a show in Norfolk, last weekend, and we did a meet and greet after the show. I did like a 90-minute show, and then spent about an hour in the lobby doing a meet and greet, and I was like, I have no product. Like, what? This should be the time to have product. Now, there was a time when, now I'm dating myself, but there was a time when I could go do a gig and I would bring, a box of CDs. I'd do a 90-minute gig, and then 90 minutes afterwards, I'm selling CDs, signing CDs, taking pictures. And then it got to a point where no one has CDs. You, you can't even give a CD away because nobody has nothing to play it on. And so because of that, I stopped doing product. Whereas I'm sure if I sat down with someone,
right.
who's in that brand marketing commerce space, together we can figure out, okay, well, if it's not physical CDs, then let's think about some other ideas. Like I know vinyl is a big thing now, so maybe it's worth printing up some vinyl. So I'm in that place where I'm figuring out the commerce part myself.
Yeah. Love it. Honest. That was good. So we'll put Tiffany on that, right? Like,
I know. I think that's, and I think it's okay to be in that space. Everybody cannot be
yes.
all things at all times, right? So people are in the same position as you are. Like, where are we now? Even with Emerge, like we've had to reevaluate our branding, our target audience, things like that, and we've had to learn certain things along the way, and we're still learning and we're still adapting. So I think that's a normal thing, but definitely you are a brand, and
Yeah.
I already got tons of ideas, but I'm gonna keep that to myself. I know I have a million ideas.
I'll book a session. I'll book a session with you, and
There we go. There we
go. So switching gears, because not only is like you being a brand so important, but what we do out in the community, right? We're blessed in order for us to bless others. I really believe that. And I know you've worked on several projects that address important social issues like HIV and AIDS awareness. So how do you see the role of like social responsibility in business today? And why do you take it upon yourself to do things outside of like just your entertainment career?
I think a lot of that has to do with um, the way I was raised. Um, I think I was very fortunate with the success of Cosby at an early age, because it wasn't just that this was a successful show. This was a show that was making an impact on globally, an impact on white America, an impact on Black America, the way it was making an impact on the way people were seeing us, and more importantly, the way we were seeing ourselves. So out the box, there was for me an added social responsibility, if you will. Now, mind, if it was a show that didn't have any of that impact and it was just like this, hugely popular show, I don't know if I would have the same kind of thing. But because the foundation of my career, you know, included this social awareness. It was something that was always important to me. You know, back up, uh, the real foundation is what my parents instilled in me long before acting.
Mm.
My father named me after Malcolm X and Ahmad Jamal. And
I love
it wasn't until I was about 15 that I realized what he did. And I remember I was 15. I called him. I said, Dad, my name. You set me up. And he said, You're damn right I did.
Great.
love it for
Right?
greatness.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah. So I think it's just, it's ingrained in me. You know, my dad was very active in the civil rights movement. So the, again, being given certain blessings, um, a certain level. I've been very fortunate. And the thing that I was always told as a little kid, to whom much is given, much is required.
Oh my goodness. I love that. That's my
and,
boss saying.
and my dad was saying that like pre-Cosby. So again, these are just things that they've just instilled in me. Um, and like I even watch my daughter, and I see uh, how mindful she is, with other people, and how empathetic she is to other people, and it's beautiful to see. But everyone doesn't necessarily, feel that.
Mhm.
Everyone doesn't necessarily have that pull. And again, because I know the effect of, like I know I have a voice. So I've been fortunate to have a voice, and I've been fortunate to have a platform. And, in any way, I find if what I can do can help someone else in terms of, uh, inspiring, um, because I was that kid who loved being inspired. Like I was the kid, like somebody would come to the school assembly and talk. I was one of the kids who was listening. Even as a kid, like I know there was more. I knew
Yeah.
there was more out there, and
Yeah.
being able to be exposed to people who, not in the exact words, but being able to be exposed to people who are like, yeah, there is more out there, right? That had a big impact on me. So if I can do the same for other people, I think it's extremely important because it has a direct impact on a young person's trajectory.
Mhm. Yes.
Yes. Agree. Question. Can you share any upcoming projects that excite you, and how do you see these ventures contributing to your overall career and business goals?
Ah, so right now, on the acting side, things are slow. Um, you know, from COVID to the actor strike and the writer strike, the business has not fully rebounded. And the thing that I am always talking to people about is the pivot. Like COVID was really, I mean, we know it was, the pandemic was horrible. But for people who knew how to pivot, it was gold.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
I constantly think about the pivot because I look at what's happening in our business, and again, I'm fortunate to be able to work, but I see things shifting, and the conversations I'm having with people now are what we all have to do as individuals is figure out what our pivots are. And my pivot is going to be different from anybody else's pivot, but it's something that the conversation that I'm constantly having, because I think it's important that we have to think about, as the world is shifting, like not just the entertainment industry, but the world is shifting. Um, you know, we we don't know what with the with the current administration. We don't know after these 4 years what the world is going to look like. Entertainment industry included, business world. We don't know. We don't know. So I think this is really an important time to, uh, you know, be uber aware of the landscape and figure out what our individual pivots can be. And
Right.
this is a great time because of technology. This is the best time for everyone to use technology to find out, to figure out, their own business. This is the best time to be. Um, this is the best time to get into business if you have not, for yourself.
Agreed.
Mhm.
We talked about a lot today, but there is something we didn't cover. I wanted to talk about this podcast, Not All Hood, because I want to know how it started, what's it about, where we can catch the episodes. I want to know all the good stuff about this podcast.
Yeah. Well, not all hood. Nah, not all hood.
I love it.
Yes.
The idea came from Henry Louis Gates. There was a quote: "There are 42 million Black people in America. Therefore, there are 42 million ways to be Black." At this point, I think that was a few years ago. I think now it's 47.9 million Black people. So there are essentially 47.9 million ways to be Black. And with Not All Hood, we wanted to create a space where we could, one, combat the image that the media prefers to highlight. So we go, we're not all hood. We are hood and then some, right? So it's not a knock on the hood, but when we, and even Black people, when we talk about the Black community, we tend to speak of it as if it's this monolith. But the Black community encompasses so many different lanes and so many different facets. And no, the Black community, like any other community, is not going to all get along. But we still have shared experiences because we are Black in America. So for us, we wanted to create this space where we could talk about the different issues, have people on who represent the various lanes of the Black community. So we will have a Dr. Daniel Black, who's professor of African American Studies at Clark Atlanta, and we've also had Chantel Green, who was highlighted as one of the biggest trap queens in Baltimore.
Variety's the spice of life.
Yeah, man, and that's what we are so varied, and we are so varied that we're not going to all get along. We're going to have different perspectives, and I've been just really interested to have different people on who may represent a lane that's not necessarily my lane, and it's cool. So we've been on for a year. We just celebrated our year anniversary. We just started our season 2. Thank you. We're on. You can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify. We're also on YouTube. We're also on Instagram and Fanbase. And it's Not All Hood. I love the format because it allows me to be definitely the most vulnerable ever. Like I'm pretty vulnerable in my music and my poetry. I'm pretty transparent in all of that. But on the podcast, I'm not. It's not expressions of myself that I've written. It's all real time. So there is a wonderful, although maybe sometimes frustrating, vulnerability that comes out of that. but you're definitely getting 100% me, whether you like it or not. Uh, it's a space where we find that authenticity within ourselves, me and my co-host, Candace Kelly.
And I appreciate it because as someone who's been told, oh, you didn't live the Black experience, or you're not Black, or you're acting white, it had always frustrated me because I didn't grow up like, a bunch of other people. Since I've lived overseas, I've gone to boarding school. I tend to like things from all over. Like I can go to a bluegrass festival. I wish I could country line dance, but I like country music. Like I've tried a country line dance.
Who can't country line dance?
Well, have you seen these line? They kick. It's a lot.
Wow.
And yet I can go to a fish fry at the same time. But I'm like, I had two parents growing up in the household. Like, so why? It's like, oh, Tiffany, you didn't have the Black experience. I'm like, why does Black experience have to be a negative connotation to it? Like, why can't it be? I didn't have nobody was there when I was the only African American person in my boarding school having to get questions about, oh, you only wash your hair twice, every 2 weeks, or why do you do this, or why do you do that? And like nobody was there to experience those kind of things in my Black experience. So why did it have to be because I didn't grow up poor per se? Which, if you talk to my parents, I probably grew up poor, but in my head, I didn't. So I appreciate all because it opens up.
Yeah, and I think we also, and I think that kind of format is good for everyone because we tend to, I think as humans we have this negative bias, and then as Black people, we have been conditioned to normalize negativity, and I think it's utterly important for us as and this is kind of weird because I'm a little bit over 50.
Just a little bit.
Just a little.
Hey, just a little.
Hey, I'm right there with you.
So we are like it's crazy. Growing up, we used to think 50 was middle age.
Right.
Say it.
Right? But
say it.
Oh.
Now I'm like I'm a whippersnapper.
The
say
reality,
it.
Right?
Yep. So I'm still a baby.
So I think with that, well, I'm saying we're people ain't living to 100. So 50 is not necessarily the midpoint. We're a little bit past the midpoint. But we are the bridge between the generation gap.
Mm.
We still have access to elders. We also still are relevant enough to have the ear of the young people.
That's good.
So as the bridge between the generation gap, with our experience and the knowledge that we have, and the knowledge available to us that wasn't necessarily available to our parents when they were in their 50s.
Right.
I think now is like it's utterly important for us to break certain generational traditions, if you will. It's not necessary for the younger generation to experience the same kind of traumas that we did.
Right.
I think one of my biggest, probably one of the, and my mom and I, my whole life, we've been best friends. So like, that's my G. But, our biggest differences, have become when I become a parent. Because I'm raising my daughter differently from the way my mother raised me.
Right.
And when you think about it, just generationally, a lot of parents, they do trauma parenting. Right? It's not a knock. It's not shade or anything at all. It's just the times are different. Like I saw this YouTube short, and David Banner was talking about his father being from Jacksonville and his father beating him as a kid because he had to teach him when not to buck up.
Mm.
And David Marrier's like, as an adult, he gets that. Like, that was his father trying to protect him, and his father doing, what he knew. But we're at a place now that we can even put a label on trauma parenting, right? We have access to more knowledge, so we have access to being able to show our kids something different that our parents didn't necessarily have the words or access to information. So when we talk about negativity bias, when we talk about the way Black people are conditioned to see themselves, well, now we know that it doesn't have to be that way. We know that we can teach the young people something different. That
Right.
that young people have so much access to greatness than they've ever been allowed to even dream about. Like, I think that those are important things for us as the bridge between the generation gap.
Right. Like, the barriers are starting to come down, and I love it.
Yeah.
Speaking of, we know you're a parent. We know you're a busy actor, a performing poet, a director, all of these things, right? So with such a busy schedule, and I assume you have a busy schedule, how do you manage work-life balance?
What is that?
Oh, there's balance to this.
What'd you say? What you talking about, Willis?
Right,
That was
yeah,
funny.
yeah. It's work.
Wow.
I think the good thing is, because I'm a little over 50, my life, and I was very, what's the word? I can't think of the word right now. I was very intentional about waiting until having a family.
Nice.
Very nice.
So there's so much stuff that, I've done in my other life.
I love that, your other life.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
like when I go out, it's usually like music related, and someone said to me a couple months ago, like, man, you never go out. I'm like, look, I happen to really like the two people I live with.
Right.
So if I'm not working, I want to be home with my wife and my 8-year-old daughter.
I love that.
I'm not trying to be out there. I've done that. So a lot of that work-life balance, the balance to work for me is being home. Because oftentimes even if I'm working in Atlanta where I'm living, I'm working a lot. Or if I'm working outside of home and I have to be on location, I'm away. So for me, the balance to that is being able to be home, being able to, interact daily with my daughter.
Yeah.
So it kind of works out, and Atlanta is a great place for me musically, because I get to, like, not only play bass, in my band, which I love doing, but I also get to, there are other contexts where I can go and just be a bass player and not be the front person. So so the balance of the work for me there is also the music, and I get to be a musician. I get to sometimes be a musician and not have to be a musician and a poet. I can just actually kick back with the drummer and just play bass. So those are things for me that are really important for me to be. I think I can always stand to be, more balanced and more rounded, but I think I'm pretty well rounded. Like, I don't feel like I'm sacrificing a whole lot with the way my career.
I like it. I always say I do more life than work, so that's my work life.
Yeah.
So let me digress just a little bit, because I did get to go to his show when it was at the Addicts Theater, in Norfolk. And when I say it was mind blowing, right? It was an experience that I didn't think I would have.
Sure.
And the way Malcolm was like smirking, and then he'd do like a little like smile. You see how he's smiling now? Like do a little smile thing, and then he'd like place his hands in certain way. He had these older women in that theater going crazy.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And it's kind of like, how can you not? It's kind of leading up into what I wanted to say. How can you not? Because just the name Malcolm-Jamal Warner is part of a legacy, which is the Cosby Show. And I just want to personally, on behalf of my three sisters, grew up in a house that was four girls. Every Thursday at 8 p.m. on NBC, we did nothing but look forward to sitting in our home
Yeah.
and partaking in the legacy that the Cosby Show gave us. And we had no boys in the house, no brothers. So you were our proxy brother. Like, we always imagined if we had a brother, he would be like Theo. So, legacy was something that you were a part of before you probably even understood what the magnitude of it meant. So looking ahead, Malcolm, what legacy do you hope to leave in both entertainment and in the business world?
Someone asked me that question not too long ago, and I'm still figuring that out, right? Because on one hand, the legacy's there,
Yeah,
right? Like my mother
that's what
said to
I'm
me,
saying.
yeah, my mother said to me, Mr. Cosby gave you immortality.
Yes.
So so that's set in place. Um, and as I think about, um, here's one thing I am proud of, and again, I've been fortunate and blessed that there is nothing in my career that nothing in my body of work that I will ever look back upon and be embarrassed by.
Oh, right.
With
That's
regard to
good.
how I've represented our people. Now, there may be some stuff I may be
Yeah.
embarrassed because it was whack, but in terms of the way I've been able to navigate through this industry with my
Yeah.
dignity,
Yeah.
integrity intact, and always and never having to perpetuate negative stereotypes of who we are.
Mm.
I think for no, I know for those who pay attention and have paid attention,
Yeah.
that that goes a long way. And that's something
Yeah.
I'm proud of. And the fact that I've been able to navigate through this business, I said with my dignity and integrity intact, my
Yeah.
head on my shoulders, a
Yeah.
realistic perspective of uh, what this whole entertainment industry is, what success is,
Yeah.
in and outside of the entertainment industry, being able to have such a wonderful family life. I mean, there's so like when we first started, and you were like, "How are you doing?" I was like, "Man, I'm doing unapologetically well."
Yeah.
Right, even in the midst of the chaos.
Yeah.
So I think, again, you asked about legacy. So as I'm still working through that, but I think a big part of what I'm proud of is, like I said, being able to have a career where I've not lost my mind,
Yep.
not misrepresented my people in my work or in the way I carry myself through the world.
Yeah.
And everybody can't say that. So I think on one level, I think that is one of the legacies.
I love the answer. It gives us something to look forward to. As you said, a legacy's already been created for you and you don't know, which is to me awesome because it's something that we get to look forward to. But you're an intentional person. We appreciate you for that. And you said, to whom much is given, much is required. So I know that you'll be putting your best into leaving that legacy. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So tell us, how can we follow you, follow the podcast, give us all that good
Sure.
social media stuff?
Sure. Also, I have this love-hate relationship with social media, so I probably need to consult with you on that too, Tiffany, with the whole brand marketing thing. Um, so on social media, I am Malcolm-Jamal War, um, and that's not being cute. It was just at the time that's all that could fit. I think now your handle's gonna be longer, but when social media first, I was around when social media first started. Malcolm Jamal
Oh,
is all that I could fit as my handle. So I've kept.
I love that.
So on Twitter and social media and fan base, it's at Malcolm Jamal War. Facebook, it's Malcolm Jamal Warner. Um, and I still handle all of my social media myself, so it's not necessarily updated every day, um, because I do it myself, and like there's still part of the that organic uh, process that I feel like I might lose if I have somebody else handle it.
Mm-hmm.
But and I said the podcast is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. It's NAH underscore not all hood, and actually our season 2 premiere just dropped a couple of days ago, and our guest is Keisha Knight Pulliam.
Okay.
And it's like I said, we've been doing this for years. It's by
The real Rudy,
the
right?
real Rudy, yeah. It's by far my favorite episode because Keisha is one of my favorite people. And for those of you, your viewers and listeners who have not yet seen the podcast, that's a good first one to see. Then you can backtrack, but that's a good one to see for your first time.
Love it.
Definitely have to check that out.
I'm definitely gonna have to check that out.
When I'm at work, just headphones in, zoom out.
Yeah. Yeah. And also the thing about the podcast, we also try to get people on to talk about things they've not, don't necessarily get to talk about. So one of my other favorite episodes was Stacey Abrams.
Oh, nice.
A lot of people don't know that Stacey Abrams she is an accomplished romance novelist.
Mm.
She's got about 10 books out.
Wow.
That people
Wow.
So like on our podcast, we talked about her career as a writer. She's a romance novelist.
Wow.
So this has been such an amazing interview, right? But we do know that all great things come to an end. So we do have one final question, which is my favorite question, our signature question.
Okay.
What does the word emerge mean to you?
Oh, that's good. That's good. When I think of emerge, I think of becoming. And wherever, at whatever stage we are in life, in business, in career, there's always that opportunity to become greater. When I think of emerge, I think of emerging into greater still.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. You can always emerge.
There's that deep drawing unto deep.
That is
Love that answer.
Yeah.
Well, we want to thank you so much. It's been such a great conversation. I know we've learned a lot. And we wish you all the best in all your future endeavors.
Thank you. And you guys,
thank you so much.
I appreciate what you're doing for the business community. So thank you.
Yeah. It's been an honor to be in your space today.
Oh, I appreciate that, ladies.
Thank you.